Hey y'all, it's Rob. I was going to do something here. I've been telling you I was going to shoot a video about water. And so this is going to be it as we get the cranes doing their thing. Of course, they're going to come in and make a lot of noise now that we're getting started. I don't mind too bad though. I guess that's not the worst thing that could happen. It's that time of day, almost sunset, getting pretty low in the sky over there. What I was going to do, I mentioned a couple of days ago, and Hooples did a video, and probably a couple of other people at this point have done it, where we talk about the crisis in Cape Town where their reservoir is about to run out of water. They are on pretty severe rationing right now, and somewhere in the next few weeks they're going to be out of water unless they get a good rainfall and a lot of something happens. And that could happen. I mean, they're not down to bone dry yet, but they're close. So to that end, I'm going to show you what I've got for water here. We're pretty dry out here right now too. We haven't had any rain since about September. Today is February the 7th, I believe, and we haven't had any rain for solid 3-4 months, maybe 5 months, anything measurable that would run off. I know I haven't got anything here that could be considered a measurable rainfall. What I've got, more cranes, what I've got is a water tank here, 2,500 gallon tank that I buried into the ground. Now I'll go down there in a minute and we'll look at it a little bit closer from that angle. But right now that tank's full, and it didn't take very many rainfalls to get it, and it didn't take very much square footage of roof surface to get it either. If I don't trip on my phone line here. You can see what I've got for catching the rain right here. I've got a 10-foot gutter right there, which basically just gets that part of the house, and that's all. The boards that are sitting over there at an angle, they're just for when we get a fast water flow. That'll kind of catch some and divert a little bit back over there. But they don't get much. They don't catch much water. But they move a little bit there. So I've got that 10-foot gutter that flows down into this 10-foot gutter. In fact, that gutter right there is not even 10 feet long. If I remember right, that's only about 9 feet, if I recall. I may be wrong about that, but it's not quite 10 feet. Go get them, Pip. Attack, kill, or get petted, whichever you wind up doing. So that 9-foot gutter right there gets this little space right here. And this little space isn't big. This space right back here behind it is not much of a slope. I don't know if this is showing anything. But same thing, I've got a little board sitting right over there just to kind of push a little bit of water back this way. But I'm telling you, let's see, I set this up and got it hooked up right before we went up to Pagosa Springs, just before the 4th of July. So we'll call it July, August, and September. The little bit of a rain we got during that period of time completely filled up this tank right there. Completely. I mean, all of a sudden I need to put an overflow in. I did not think it would get that full that fast, but it did the job. Now, I don't have my first flush system set up or anything much. In fact, you can see my high-tech filter right there. See if I can zoom in on that where you can kind of see it a little bit. But my high-tech filter consists of a piece of screen wire in a circle to stop stuff from getting to the piece of screen wire that's over the downspout. And that's all I've got for a filtration system. But that's okay, and I'll tell you why. When I was a kid, my grandmother, living out in Central Texas, didn't have good drinking water. They had well water, but it was real jippy, which means it had a lot of saline mineral content to it. And it was not good water to drink. You could drink it, but it would give you the scours if you drank more than just a little bit of it. You could wash with it, bathe with it, it wasn't great, and you could flush toilets with it. That's about all it was. The drinking water was a big metal tank that's sitting on the side of the house. We're going to go down. I'm going to walk y'all back down here. You can see, side note, the bridge I got built out. It'll make the ladder to get up in the tower a little bit better so I don't have to use the ladder anymore. The wheels of progress turn slow around here, but little by little we'll get things done. Let me pan this back out. But my grandmother's filtration system was not even a piece of screen wire. I don't know, maybe at one time there was a piece of screen wire, but for the most part it was a piece of chicken wire that I can promise you did not catch much in the way of anything. It certainly didn't catch dirt. It certainly didn't catch any birds smaller than a sparrow. It probably didn't even catch possums and coons, because I can remember having to help clean that tank out once or twice and pulling skeletons out of that water. You hear skeletons in your closet. Well, how about skeletons in your water tank? And then you think about that water that you were drinking, because this is the next part of why that didn't, you can see it's pretty crude over there, the way I've got it set up. But that is the next part of why I'm not too worried about the water, because that water, when you turn it on, it was an above ground tank, set about 1.5 feet, 2 feet above the ground, just enough room to turn a spigot on the side of it and get a bucket under there. And the trick was, you turn the spigot on and the water would run dirt muddy brown for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds, and when it started running clear, that's when you'd put the bucket under it and you'd catch the clear water as it came out. We didn't treat that water. That water didn't get any bleach. It didn't get any extra filtration. It didn't get boiled. It didn't get strained. It didn't get nothing. It got drank. Ice cubes, drinking water, tea. I guess the tea water, part of that would get boiled, but when you make tea, you don't boil. We weren't making hot tea. We were making iced tea, and so the whole amount of water didn't get boiled. It got mixed with. When I was a little kid, I learned that if you were squeamish, you don't hold your glass. If you've got a clear drinking glass, you don't hold it up to the light, because if you hold it up to the light, you see little wiggly things swimming around in there. I don't know if it was mosquito larvae. I'm guessing that's what it was, but a lot of it was smaller than that. But you drank it anyway, and we never got sick, and we never got ill. Nobody ever died, and nobody went thirsty. Now, that's not the ideal way to do it, of course, but my guess is probably drinking that water all the time when I was a little kid like that is probably part of why I can eat some of the stuff I do and not get sick. We probably killed my kidneys and a lot of other stuff like that many years ago. So they're not very affected now. This tank right here is going to have some sediment in the bottom, and it's going to be a little harder to clean out, but the top of the tank has an access panel. I think y'all seen that before. If I can do this without falling off down in the hole. But the access hatch screws off, and there's water right down in there. Nice full pretty tank of it. And there's something floating on top of the water. I don't know what it is, but I'm not very worried about it. Now, I don't plan for this to be the forever solution. This is going to be just kind of what it is. Right now, we've got water if we need it, if the wells go dry, if that kind of thing happens. And you can see how primitive it is the way I've got it hooked up there, flows into there. I've got it disconnected right now so it wouldn't hold any water and freeze and break. I'll hook it back up if we get more rain, or maybe I won't. I may just divert it somewhere else since this tank is full. So obviously I need to put an overflow in it. I've got a collection device down at the bottom there where I've got a hose hooked up to it. It's got some trash in there. I probably should have come out and cleaned this up, but you know me, I'll show you the real deal. And then I got lots of pieces. Those two big pieces of conduit you see over there are going to be the first flush system, where it'll allow the water to come down in, fill those up, and let a lot of the dirt and sediment settle out before it runs into the tank. Now, one of the things I did, I told you my grandmother's tank was an above ground tank. This one I put below ground for a couple of different reasons. Well, 3 reasons I can think of off the top of my head. You can see it's not very deep in there, but it'll give you an idea of the height of it. I put it down in there, for one thing, it doesn't freeze. We got well below 0 for a while recently. I think y'all saw the video of that. And my tank had just the lightest skim of ice over the top of it. It wasn't even a full 1/2 inch thick. Now I'm sure there was a coating of ice around the side because I could kick it and it felt stiff, whereas it doesn't right now. I got to kill that tree out right there, a little tree, and those trees are going to die because we got too many trees out here. So it keeps it from freezing. It collects enough ground heat that it keeps the water from turning into a block of ice, so it'll always be usable, and I don't have to worry about splitting out my tank that way. Even the stuff down in the bottom there, As far as I can tell, nothing froze and broke down in there even. All I've got on that's just a piece of carpet to trap a little bit of heat from the ground and from the heat of the water in the tank. I also figure if it's down in there like that, it's a little bit harder to see. It doesn't present as big of a profile. It doesn't block my windows back here from the laundry room or the back door, so I can still see out over the top of it. And last, and not least, but hopefully least, is if things ever got bad, there's that much down below ground that won't get a bullet hole in it if somebody was shooting at us. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. What if it did? You know, that's where my brain goes sometimes. One of the next things I'm going to do is I'm going to take tires and put around the two exposed sides here, from there over to around there, and I'm going to do layers of tires with dirt inside of those. And I don't know if I'll do them up close to the tank or if I'll do them with a little bit of walking room behind the tank, but that will also help keep the bullets from making holes in my tank. And I have to admit, I just feel six kinds of silly when I even talk about stuff like that. I love this time of year. I love when the cranes are here. I really do. They come a little bit lower, I can get up on the top of that tower and grab one with a net. Not really. So anyway, that's what we've got right there. The whole water treatment thing, clean water is important. Disinfected water is important. But people live for thousands of years drinking water that was a whole lot less clean than that. Now, hooples, don't start with me. I know there's all kinds of, you can get amoebic dysentery, you can get single cell protozoas, you can get giardia, you can get numerous hosts of other things that can make you sick and cause problems. Typhoid, is it typhoid fever or typhus? I always get those two backwards. I think it's typhus that you can get from that, from drinking bad water. But the thing about it is, the heavy stuff in that water, but as I shake the camera to make a point, the heavy stuff in the water, sediment and that kind of thing, float out. Not float out, they sink down. The lighter stuff floats up and you can skim it off. And I have poured some bleach in here. Early on, when we first got this hooked up, we had a big windstorm. Oh, I got to post that picture. Maybe I'll post that picture as the cover for this, as a thumbnail for this video. I don't know if it would fit right, but it was what they call a haboob, which we call a big blackout sandstorm, dirt storm that came across, and it came across from the northwest over there, which means it came across that feedlot, which means that most of what came across wasn't dirt. There's about 10 million cranes over there. Let's see if I can zoom in and catch them. There they are. They're circling over the lagoon there, over the feedlot. So that was why we were out of town. And of course, right after it did that, it put about a 1/4-inch layer of not dirt on top of my roofs up here, which the day after that, we got the first good rain we'd had in a long time and promptly washed all of it right down into my tank. Well, that was pretty great. I guess we're going to get tough quick that way. So I poured about a half a gallon of bleach in there just to kind of kill off what we could. Now, don't tell my wife, but I took a drink of that water the other day and it tasted fine, and I didn't get sick and nothing happened, because it is pretty much sealed up except for that pipe right there. I should probably put something around that. Anyway, that's my story about water. Store water if you can, in whatever ways you can. If you can store a bunch of water like this, do that. If you can't store it, at least get your house set up with a couple of gutters somewhere so that you can catch water if it rains, and then have a way to disinfect it. We would not drink that water straight out of the tank, probably. We might cook with it. We would probably wash with it. We'll certainly give it to animals, but we will disinfect it. We'll probably put a fairly good dose of bleach in it, and we'll run it through some of our pump filters. At the very least, we'll run it through a Brita filter or some things like that, just to kind of make it better. But know this: know that you can drink that water. I did it. My family did it. My dad grew up drinking that stuff, and it came off of was it asphalt shingles? He said it might have been a tin roof, but I'm pretty sure, at least in later years, there were asphalt shingles that came off of. He'll turn 85 here in about a month. Hadn't hurt him yet. He did okay with it. And of course, my grandparents all lived fairly old too, drinking just that water right there, unboiled, unbleached, untreated. Now, I'm not advising anybody to do that. I'm just telling you, if it comes down to it, you can. Drinking water out of a tank like that is a lot different than drinking out of a ditch or out of a little stream somewhere that you don't know where it came from. This water is contained. All right, I've gone 15 minutes. That's about 6 minutes longer than I meant to go. So anyway, there it is. Thanks, y'all. And we'll show you a few more cranes as we get settled down here and turn this off. Walk out here. There are a few of them out there. Take it all the way to full zoom, and that way you'll see every motion I make once it decides to finally focus. Yeah, you can't see anything. That's the bad thing about this camera. It doesn't like to focus good on far off objects sometimes. Anyway, there's cranes out there. Take my word for it. Cheers, y'all.